Shen Lin from UCI. He is the professor of cell biology and integrative medicine. He's the founding director, Lab for Mind-Body Signaling and Energy Research. Also a member of Susan Samueli Integrated Health Institute at UC Irvine. He was formerly National Advisory Council on Integrative Medicine and Health, and also Public Advisory Group on Non-Pharmacological Management of Pain and Stress in the Military, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Shen Lin.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Let me change to a different mic here. You see the slides?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
good. So, good morning again. Thanks for showing up. Again, a show of hands, how many of you are here for the first time? Okay, all right. So, this series, which is series number 4 now, has been going on since 2015. And the series is co-presented by, of course, here, South Coast Chinese Cultural Association and UCI's Susan Samueli Integrative Health Institute. And we're very grateful for the financial support to be able to rent this facility. I'm a volunteer here, but we have to pay for this room. Financial support by the Monte J Southern California Science and Technology Association and Legacy Quantum Angel. And in terms of orientation, today is session number 9 in the series, ScienceBased Da Wu Qigong. And a little bit of advertising. This happens every month until the end of this spring. So the one in March is on science-based tendon changing classic Qigong, Yi Jin Jing. And April is 5 animals frolic Qigong, Wu Qing Qi, Wu Qian Xi. And this series will end with the one in May, A Guan Ji, 8-section silk brocade Qigong. And I'm very happy to announce that following series 4 will be series 5. It's a short one. And this is brand new. And the emphasis is different. The past several ones are all like, practicing Qigong, Tai Chi. This is the Science and Practice of Healthy Living, series number 5. And it starts with session 1, a lecture, Practical and Novel Strategies for Reducing Your Risk of diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. These are very prominent speakers in their field. Speaker, Dr. Nathan Wong, PhD, Professor and Director of the Heart Disease Prevention Program, Division of Cardiology at UC Irvine, and he was past president of the American Society for Preventive Cardiology and the president-elect of Inter-American Heart Foundation. I will follow that in May with a presentation that's new to even this audience. Healthy aging, how to reverse aging-related decline of mind, body, and brain. And in June, eye health and care for the young and old. Professor Stephanie Wu, not related to you, MD. She's a board-certified ophthalmologist, associate professor at the Gavin Herbert Eye Institute, UC Irvine. And we will wrap up this series and wrap up all these series because I'm leaving this association at the end of June. But this one, really interesting, culinary medicine, applications to Chinese cooking, home cooking, and restaurant cooking. And speaker is Dr. David Kilgore, MD, Vice Chair and Clinical Professor of Family Medicine, Director of Integrated Medicine Track in Family Medicine Residency Program, UC Irvine. And I will be co-presenting that one with him because of my expertise in Chinese eating. And very scientific series. Everything is based on the latest research, the literature, clinical trials, and it's not just things from the internet that are mostly untrue, right? So I hope that you guys, if you haven't signed up already, if you are on the mailing list for this series, you will automatically get the advertisement for this new series. If you're here for the first time, make sure before you leave, put your name on the mailing list. Okay, so a very, very quick review for those of you who hadn't heard this before. The details of what I'll be talking for the several minutes, I have talked about more than once before, and everything, including today's session, is recorded on video and put on YouTube. So you can always go to YouTube under SCCA, South Coast Chinese Cultural Association.org. That website will lead you to dozens of videos from past sessions in this series. So very quickly, Qigong, okay, is a mind-body practice. Or Qigong is the family name for countless types of mind-body practices originated from China and is characterized by the integration of the three regulations, regulating the body, the mind, and the breath. And, regulating the body. Our colleagues at Princeton have shown by studying cats, recording serotonin brain cells in the brain, and the amazing finding is that repetitive motion can stimulate serotonin brain cell activity by 5 to even 40-fold. So what you do today, if you just do this once, you don't get this effect. But if you repeat these things 5 times, 10 times, or even 20 times, you will start to stimulate the serotonin neuronal activity in the brain, puts you in a good mood, let you sleep better, and all those good things. Secondly, we'll be doing a lot of stretching today, particularly with Da Wu Qigong. And it has been shown by our colleagues at Harvard that when you stretch the body, you stretch the connective tissues, under the skin, above the muscles. And there are all sorts of cells, in the connective tissue that, as a result of the stretching action, will start to secrete signaling molecules that could initiate a whole pathway that will lead to relief of pain, relief of inflammation, and so forth. Next, something we will do today, if you vibrate your bone structure like this, okay, that is, of course, good for keeping your bone density high, but the latest research shows that strong bones, of course, very, very important in terms of preventing osteoporosis or breaking body parts if you fall and things like that. But strong bones secrete signaling molecules that will go to the brain to stimulate growth of brain cells. And the growth of brain cells are particularly in the hippocampus, where you have cells responsible for your memory. So you can enhance your memory and also tolerance of stress. So those are two very important things. So when you do these exercises that we show today, that involves like vibrating of the bone structure of the body. Not only do you keep the bone structure, strong, you also stimulate growth of memory cells and stress tolerance cells, in the brain. Regulation of the mind. The latest research have shown that people who practice Tai Chi and Qigong have better connections between the part of the brain that I just talked about, the hippocampus, and the prefrontal cortex. Better connections so that the information stored here, particularly in terms of memory, can be used in the processing part of the brain. So this would be like the hard drive of the computer, and this is the CPU, and the better the connection, of course, the better you can function in terms of cognitive tasks and things that require memory and so forth. Regulating breathing is important because the latest research showed that when you go into slow, deep breathing, you involve these special brain cells in the breathing pacemaker situated in the brain stem of the brain. And these brain cells, have direct nerve connections with another part of the brain that has to do with stress tolerance. So if you are stressed, if you go like that, these brain cells won't help you. If you are stressed, you're going to, oh my God, that's not going to help. But if you breathe deeply and slowly like you will do today, these special brain cells could talk to this part of the brain that can resist stress, stimulus, and help relieve the rest of the body and not get into a panic situation. Okay, so a very quick rundown of things that I have talked about in some detail, and I need to bore the rest of you anymore. So, one more thing about deep breathing is the same experiment at Princeton that shows that repetitive motion could stimulate serotonin in the brain. Deep breathing could also stimulate serotonin in the brain as well. So deep breathing, repetitive motion, so breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. That will do wonders in terms of putting you in a good mood, make you sleep better, and so forth. So with that, we're ready to start talking about Da Wu Qigong. So first of all, just to set the stage in terms of what exactly is Da Wu Qigong. So here, schematically, Qigong, as I said, is a term for a very, very broad family of mind-body practices originated from China and involves the integration of regulation of mind, body, and breath. You can divide Qigong into two categories. For the past several months, I talked about the type of Qigong like Tai Chi, Xing Yi, Bagua, like last month. Those are mind-body practices that originated as martial arts for fighting and for self-defense. So when practiced like Tai Chi with regulation of not just the body but the breathing and the mind, it could qualify as a type of Qigong, not just as martial arts. But I would say the vast majority of Qigong exercises belong to this particular side of the story, non-martial arts, health-based practices. And next several months I'll talk about 5 animals frolic, 8 sections of croquet, tendon changing, and so forth. And today, Da Wu Qigong. So Da Wu Qigong has no martial arts application whatsoever. It's designed purely for mind-body health. Whereas Tai Chi, if you practice Tai Chi, if necessary, you could defend yourself very well as well. So what is the history of Da Wu Qigong? It's not a very well-known style of Qigong. So let me read this, so that you don't have to strain your eyes too much. So Da Wu Qigong, okay, comes from this historical book, Lu Xi, which means great history, written by the historian Luo Mi in the Song Dynasty about 1,000 years ago. And, quote, it says in that book, in the time of Yin Kang, an ancient ruler, the ditches were not well dredged and water did not flow. It was wet, damp, and gloomy. The air was stuffy, and most people suffered from poor circulation, stiff muscles, swollen feet, and so forth. So Yin Kang, the ruler, ordered the people in his country to dance to ease their joints and to relieve stiff muscles, swollen feet, improve circulation. And he wants to continue to convince the people of the benefit of Da Wu. This was called Da Wu Qigong. Okay? So it was designed for this purpose of improving circulation, relieving stiff muscles and tendons, and swollen body parts and so forth. Now, Da Wu means great dance. In fact, there are many examples of ancient artifacts dug up from the ground from thousands of years ago depicting figures dancing. So you're quite familiar with this. I've shown more than once here. This is from a silk scroll dug up from Ma Wang Dui, King Ma's mound. And it depicts 44 different figures, doing different types of poses. And they're not just dancing, because the Chinese writing that we can still read today next to each of these figures says if you do this, it will reduce your fever. If you do this, it will improve your hearing. If you do this, it will relieve your stress, and so forth. So way back 2,000 years ago, they're already practicing dance-like movements for medical purposes. This is even older. This is a ceramic bowl from Qinghai province in China, dating back 5,000 years ago. And you can see these figures like joining hands and in dancing stances. Switching to the 21st century, we in Western biomedical research community know quite well the benefit of dance to health. It's called dance movement therapy. There's even a name for that, DMT. Okay, it includes like ballroom dancing, aerobic dancing, line dancing, and so forth. And I'll give you examples of 3 randomized controlled trials, clinical trials. Like this one, perioperative dance movement therapy. So these are patients going into surgery or recovering from surgery, okay? In this trial, they found changes in neurohormonal and immune stress response to day surgery. Of course, going to surgery is very stressful, and if they practice dance movement therapy, there's measurable decrease in these markers, showing that people are not as stressed. And research, particularly at UCI, Department of Anesthesiology, shows that the less stressed you are going to surgery, the better the medical outcome. Ziv Kane, former chairman of anesthesiology, is a leader in that field of research. In this randomized controlled trial, the dance movement therapy group with Parkinson's disease had improvement in using less medication, suggesting slowing of the progression of the disease. Okay, that's good. And the third randomized controlled trial, dance movement therapy group treatment is more effective in reducing psychological distress than non-treatment. So they have a comparison group there. So, hey, modern times now, we recognize how beneficial it is to dance, if you may. So, all right. So we start the teaching, hands-on teaching part. So please occupy the space, but don't go beyond too much here to block. That will block the camera. Okay, this space here.